Hi, my name is Caitlin Schmidt, and I'm a third grade math and science teacher in Sunnyvale, Texas. I'm hoping and working currently on learning more about instructional coaching, that within the next few years, I make the jump to an instructional coach where I'm working with teachers and helping them to be the best teacher that they can be, helping them to understand the idea of being a lifelong learner that ultimately and hopefully helps them to make and improve student learning in their classroom and maybe make changes both at their campus and their district level. I chose to read the article Why Teaching Essential, Teacher Autonomy, Essential to Coaching Success by Jim Knight. And the first thing that stuck out to me in this article is there is a quote by Anthony Burgess that says, "When people cannot choose, they cease to be people." And a lot of times when we think about the word autonomy, and if we want to relate it to the world of education, teacher autonomy kind of just means you're doing whatever. It is what it is. Things are just happening. No, there is no rules. There is no anything like that. And that's not what teacher autonomy is. It's not saying, hey, I've chosen to make my work hours 9 to 2 and I'm out. That's not what it is. Because if we were to allow that, would any learning happen? Would any student benefit from that? They wouldn't. There's still a place for structure. There's still a place for rules, even within teacher autonomy. When we add in this teacher autonomy, though, we're allowing teachers not to have the choice just to do whatever they want. We're still there as an instructional coach guiding and helping them because we want transformational change to happen, but it's allowing them to have the choice in what we're working on and to, in a way, say, hey, I don't want to do that strategy because I feel that strategy is doesn't fit with me as a teacher, and B, doesn't fit with the classroom environment I have. Because a teacher, even though I'm there as their instructional coach and I've come in and I've watched them, I'm not there day in and day out. They're on ground zero. They're the ones in the trenches seeing day in and day out how student behavior, student outcomes, all of the different factors that go into the decisions that a teacher makes and why they do what they do in their classroom. And for me as an instructional coach, just to walk in and say, nope, we're doing this no matter what you say, that teacher doesn't feel validated anymore. That teacher feels like I'm just only there to direct them. And that top-down idea isn't going to allow real change to happen. But adding in that teacher autonomy, I'm allowing teachers to say, hey, I really do think that's a great strategy. However, and I'd love to try it, but maybe not with this class this year. Maybe I don't think that it fits with my teaching style. And it kind of goes against how I feel my philosophy as a teacher. And teachers should have the right to be able to say those things. And as an instructional coach, I should honor those things. And when we add in this teacher autonomy, in the long run, it's going to help us to boost teacher morale. Because when you think about it, teaching isn't a one-size-fits-all sort of concept. It's not, here's a perfect formula. If you follow it, you're going to have every kid in your class pass. You're going to have no behaviors. Every parent's going to love you. That's not the case. As teachers, we know that from one year to the next, something may not work. For years, I have always used buckets in the middle of my table. And I had a class a few years ago that they just could not handle the buckets being in the middle of the table. They would write all over the buckets. They would hide things in the buckets. They weren't using them properly. So ultimately I had to make a decision where even though I loved using those buckets because it was a one-stop shop for all their supplies and they didn't have to go searching, I had to make the choice of, hey, that's gotta go because it's just not working. So as an instructional coach, adding in that teacher autonomy, like that is talked about in this article, I'm giving my teachers the opportunity to say, no, yeah, that might have worked in the teacher next door, but with the kids that I have or with how I teach or how these things are going, it's not going to work. And for me as an instructional coach, it's not being mad that they're saying no. It's that the understanding of it may not work right now. So let's start with something that is going to work. What's going to give them that boost of, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm making the changes that I need to make and I'm helping my students be better. So while this concept seems overwhelming or over daunting, it's rather simple. However, that's not to say it isn't going to come without its challenges. This idea of teacher autonomy does challenge traditional teaching, which can make it more difficult to implement on campuses. And I think as an instructional coach, if you choose to add in this idea of teacher autonomy, it's probably going to be something that you'll have to talk to campus administration with. And knowing that you've built a relationship and rapport with your campus administration will help this to be more successful. I don't think that it's something that I can just say, hey, I'm going to do it no matter what, but if I can go to my principal and say, hey, I want to try something. I'm still going to be coaching. I'm not going to just let them do whatever they want, but I'm going to allow them to have some choice. I'm going to allow a teacher that is working on implementing the math curriculum what area they want to work on first. Do they want to work on honing in the intro to the lesson, the middle of the lesson, or the end of the lesson? Where do they feel most comfortable with starting? For some of them, it might be the middle, where the meat of the lesson is. For some of them, they struggle just to get started. And once they get started, everything goes well, but what can we add in that helps them to get started? And brainstorming from there as a team, the teacher and I as the instructional coach, how can we best fix this? And allowing them to have some choice in what they are doing, they really can't, that change sinks in deeply. They see, oh, okay, so this does work. I got a choice in what we were doing. I was able to make long-lasting change that in the end is going to help and impact my students. And when we think, a connection that I made to this article is when I think about my students in general. I like to give student autonomy and student choice. There are times, though, that my students know that this is exactly what Ms. Schmidt wants and this is how it's going to be. But especially when it comes to their learning, not every kid in my classroom is going to learn the same way. When I have kids walk in the door in a few weeks, not every kid is going to be a kinesthetic learner. Not every kid is going to be a hands-on learner. Not every kid is going to be a visual learner. I have to tailor my lessons to meet their needs, to give them the way or a choice of how they are learning. For some kids, it might be, we're going to go through the lesson, we're going to write in our journal, and then when we split off into our different groups, maybe that group of kiddos needs to do an online activity where it's going back over the whole lesson. They need to hear it that second time, but it's in a different mode. And hearing in that different mode helps it to sink in. So as I connected this idea of the fact I give students choices in how they're learning and even how they show their learning through like a choice board or something like that. Why can't I also do that for other teachers? What makes teachers any different than the students? If we have this idea that we're always supposed to be a lifelong learner, doesn't that mean that I'm always supposed to be a lifelong student? And if students get choices, why can't teachers get choices in the new things that they are learning? Now, again, teacher autonomy is not just letting them do whatever they want. As an instructional coach, I am still helping to direct and guide them to make decisions. However, I'm giving them more choice in how we're implementing it. In essence, we're kind of tailoring it to them, to how they are as a teacher. Again, teaching is not a one-size-fits-all. Every teacher is going to be a little bit different. And while two teachers could be doing the exact same strategy, even though they're doing the exact same strategy, it may look a little bit different because of the kids, because of them as a teacher. So I do believe, after reading this article, that autonomy is a huge part of successful learning, both for the teachers and for the students. And so often, again, we give our students choices, and our teachers get no choices. They get just told, hey, this is what we're doing no matter what. And how is that fair? Well, they spent years and years in college and took multiple certification tests to show that they understood everything that they learned and that they are ready to do this job. And yet we come in and say, nope, you're not actually ready. I want you to do this and this and this instead. And the reason you're going to do it is because I said so. That discredits them and it makes them not feel like a person. That goes back to the quote at the beginning of this video where it says, people who cannot choose, they cease to be people. And when we take away that choice for the teachers and what they're doing, they're no longer teachers. In essence, they're kind of like robots, and we just expect them to perform and do the things that we are telling them to do. And ultimately, I believe that that is going to be what continues this whole thing that we've seen over the last few years of teachers leaving in droves, the burnout that we hear. because we're not getting any choices. We're told, hey, yeah, spent all that money, you got all those certification tests, but we don't think you're qualified enough to do the job, so we want you to do these things instead. And that as a teacher seems like, oh, it's what happens. It is what it is. But if I go to my doctor and say, hey, I know you went to this prestigious medical school and you did all these great things, but I don't think that diagnosis is right. I just really think that I have this instead. My doctor's gonna look at me like I'm crazy because he knows better. And there's sometimes as a teacher, do I say that I always know best? No, because I'm always learning. I'm always looking. And I'm learning from others and all those things, and I'm choosing the things that I want to put in. So as somebody who's an inspiring instructional coach, understand the idea that teacher autonomy is not even central. I would almost say it's essential to coaching because it allows teachers to see themselves as a professional. It validates that, yeah, you're doing a great job, or yeah, teaching is hard and I'm going to help you through it. And I have a quote by Maya Angelou that it is actually on the wall behind me here, and it is written in multiple places in my classroom. And in essence, it's the idea of always do what you know. Do the best that you can until you know better, then do better. And for so long, we've done the best that we could. We thought we knew the idea of instructional coaching when it began. We didn't really know what it was. And so we've molded into this what we think it is, and that it's somebody that comes in as a curriculum enforcer, somebody that comes in to only tell teachers the things that they are doing wrong. But instead now we know that is not helpful, that's not giving us anything, that's not giving us a student improvement that we're learning, that we're wanting. It's not helping teachers be better. So now that we know better, we must do better. And in order to do better, I think we must be using teacher autonomy in order to have transformational coaching.